did you know there was a time in my life that I didn't even know I had curly hair? I used to be the girl who had the messed up crazy hair because I just fought it all the time. I thought, what is wrong with my hair? And I would fight it, not knowing what I was even doing and without any guidance, and trying to be like the super straight, sleek, flat hair that it seemed like every single girl in my school had as I was growing up. And it wasn't until I went off to college that I realized, like, wow, I have curly hair. And it's only because somebody came to me and told me and offered to help style my hair. And I was like, this is so amazing. And it's so simple compared to all the struggle I'd been through. And I was thinking about that today because that memory popped into my head. I can still see where I'm standing in the dorm. She's fixing my hair and I'm just like blown away by what came right out of me so naturally that I didn't even know was there this whole time. And I've experienced that so many times, especially through my journey through infertility, because they've come to realize that there's so many different things that we set in our mind and our expectations as really as children, as we're growing, before we know all the things that there are to know, or at least enough of them, right? To be able to make wise, educated decisions, we set some things in our mind for how our life is going to be and what we're going to expect, really in a very immature state, right? So early on, we can be influenced by family and friends, by things we see, and that can just halt us sometimes in that particular way of thinking that then as adults it really struggles. So I was thinking through, like, okay, so here I was, I always was thinking I had straight hair that was just messed up. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, only to come to discover that I have curly hair. You know, I grew up without any faith, only later to come and discover that life with faith and like love in Jesus, like that's so amazing. I grew up thinking that I was going to have a house full of girls, like all I wanted in my mind. Seriously, I had like named 6 different daughters, all with S names. And oh yeah, it was a whole crazy thing in my head. And I would talk to them all the time. And these were these girls that I was going to someday birth and have this whole slew of beautiful daughters. And they were all just going to look just like me. Like I looked like my mom, and it was just going to be a thing. And I never in my wildest dreams would have saw that someday God would have for me 3 boys, no daughters, just 3 boys. Is it a better fit for me? Like, who am I to argue? Like, I don't know what it would have been if I had girls, but like, I can tell you that where I'm at now is something that has defied my wildest expectations and given me new perspective on all the things I've changed in my life. And I had to work though. There were all these years that I was going through my infertility. So it was 11 years of marriage until we had our first child. And so that's a long time to sit and think and work through some of these thoughts. And it all didn't come naturally. Some of this has even come after having children, but just the ability to start to think about our lives in different perspectives and taking the time to see, is there anything that you think needs to happen? Are there expectations you have for yourself, goals you're trying to reach after, that are based not on what is a reality now and what you're capable of now, but based on something you have a mindset shift from like childhood. Okay. You know, I always thought I was going to be a teacher. In the long run, I did end up becoming a teacher, but in a very different way than what I ever planned entirely through childhood. Like from age 4, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I remember going off to college, my mom saying, she'll never change her mind. She's that kid who knows exactly what she wants to do. And freshman year, I changed my major. But the point is like, you have to adapt. You have to be willing to let that go, because who was I at 4 to know exactly what I was going to be, you know? And even as I was aging and I still held to that, it doesn't mean that I can't change it. And I'm pretty sure most of you are like me, that never in your wildest dreams were you thinking that infertility was going to be a part of your journey, right? You had expectations, plans that you would have dreamt about and planned for as you were aging and turning into a woman that never involved the idea of like not being able to conceive, right? That's usually something that takes people, like blindsides them, right? And takes it completely and starts to shift your mind. But for me, I started to realize as I was going through that, like, God does not make mistakes, and I could rest in that. So if he doesn't make any mistakes, then what was I holding on to in my mind that was enabling me, well, not enabling, but preventing me from moving forward? And because I felt really stuck there for a while. And then as I started to open my mind and I started to explore what my opportunities were going to be, God made it abundantly clear for me that my infertility was there for a reason, because it led me to adoption. Because I know, like, the way I'm wired, like, if I could have birthed a child, I probably would have, gone through that process and birthed another child and built my whole family that way and never sought adoption. Like, that wouldn't have been on my radar. But he had a plan for me. And I definitely can see it all looking back now, how clear it is. But even in that beginning stages, he started to make it abundantly clear to me that I was made special for a reason, and I was called to adopt a child. And so I embraced that. Rather than fighting it, I let go of my mindset from childhood, of what my expectations were, what I thought my life was going to look like. And I started to embrace it and see God doesn't make mistakes. So he has a greater vision than what I can see right now. And so let me start to grasp a little bit at a time. And slowly and surely, he revealed that to me. Now, the hardest thing, honestly, going through that was that God gave me my vision very strongly, very clearly. And so I knew I was moving towards adoption right away. But he did not give that same vision to my husband. You cannot go into the adoption journey. You cannot overcome all the emotions of infertility. You cannot move through any of that if you guys aren't going to be on the same page. And that was something that was a big part of our journey. And I think that's a reason it took us 11 years to get our first child, was because we had to get on the same page. We both had to hear from God in the same way. And for whatever reason, God had that he was going to wait to reveal that to my husband. Either he was waiting or my husband was just that closed-minded. But we'll go with God was waiting, right? So it's amazing that there are so many different things, but just being open to what God is trying to reveal to you now, that it could be different than your expectations. It could be different than plans that you set for yourself, especially when you were a young woman. And just take a look now at what it is that you are becoming. What does God have in store for you? Because, sweetheart, he does not make a mistake. And I know it's painful, and I know that there's frustration, there's anger, there's bitterness. All these things can rise up, right? Because your plan and what you foresaw for your life has been disrupted. And for some of you, it's just going to be a little while and you're going to be back on track. For others of you, it's going to take a long journey to get to the next step for where you're going. Told you it was 11 years for us. And it's just a process where it's all different, because we all have different journeys we have to take and to get to where God wants us to be. And, there's different reasons for that. A lot of it we're not going to know this side of heaven. And so we just have to be willing to trust God and know that he does not make a mistake.